Welcome to Dugout Therapy, a baseball podcast about the mental game built by Coach Grace. If you're looking to succeed both on and off the field, this is the place for you.
Baseball is a failing game statistically, unless you're a really good pitcher. But if you're a hitter, I mean, the odds are stacked against you, and you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed, especially as you get older. So it's those players that go 0 for 3. That fourth at bat is just as solid as their first at bat. You know, it's those players that are in an 0 for 10 skid, but that those 10 at bats, they're still finding 5 to 6 barrels. Like, that's what coaches look for. Coaches want to see, at least at the college level, if you boot a ball, let me go see what that next at bat is in the bottom frame of the inning or whatnot. Right? Are you going to let it compound and take 3 pitches, right, and let things kind of get out of control? Or are you just going to flush it, realize that's in the past, and then you're going to have a really good competitive at bat?
Hey, fellas. Welcome to another installment of Dugout Therapy. This is Quinn. I'm here with Dave. We're talking baseball on this podcast. We got Chris Suseck on the episode. Really fun, insightful interview, great conversation. He's a great guy. Played a lot of D1 ball, both at Coastal Carolina and Rutgers. It was really awesome having him on. What did you learn talking to Chris, Dave?
Hey, what's up? Dave here. It was really great. A lot of good stuff. I feel like the conversation we got into was high level, but also relatable for coaches at a young level as well. How do you deal with certain situations? How do you keep that player from spiraling downward in a slump or whatever? We talk about a lot of different things, a lot of mental game stuff that can help at any level, and he has some really good insight from his experience, so it was cool.
Yeah, and he was a really humble guy, it seemed like. He was 2-time high school state champion at Hunterdon Central, like before he was even a junior in high school. Yeah, like if that was me, I would have been cocky, strutting around, shoulders out, calling my shot like the Babe. But he seemed to really be cool, even when he was a really talented ball player. Yeah,
and then he goes, to Coastal, and I think that I would probably say his experience at Coastal, he probably humbled him quite a bit.
Reality.
Yeah. I mean, the way he talked about kind of that program and Gary Gilmore, not everyone could do that. So, yeah, I think his experience is really cool. He talks down a little bit of Hana, I think, his game, but he's a lot better than he makes himself sound.
Oh, yeah.
He was a really good player, played at a really high level. So
captain at Rutgers. We didn't even mention that.
Yeah, he is a really cool one, guys. Definitely listen up, take notes. Some really good stuff in here.
So I want to pivot to Coach Crate's marketing. So I've kind of...
Little shameless plug here, but
yeah,
we got to throw
Coach Crate's the #1 baseball subscription box in America, let alone the world.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting there.
Guatemalans.
Maybe.
Order the Crate.
I don't know. We're working on that. International shipments and stuff like that, but yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah.
He nodded. Yeah.
It's happening.
So, as a member of this podcast, I have kind of dubbed myself a guerrilla marketing guy for Coach Crates, which basically means I've been taking stickers that Dave has given me and I've been slapping them on areas of high traffic so people could see them and get the word out, So this past weekend, I went to PNC Park in Pittsburgh for a Pirates-Reds game. Got tickets like 2 months ago for my girlfriend and I. We sit down, and literally right to my left, that is the right field foul pole. I was sitting directly next to front row, the right field foul pole.
That's big time.
Big time, right? And I had a Coach Crate sticker in my pocket. I'm looking around, scanning security, seeing what's up. It's a naked foul pole. There are no stickers, surprisingly. By about the third inning, everyone was relaxed. The ushers kind of were meandering away from me. I go to slap it right on in front so the cameras would see it if somebody hits a home run. Like in front, not so I kind of made it known that I was going to do some graffiti of some sorts, and then an usher caught me and made me remove the sticker from the pole. So.
Hate to hear it. I thought this story was going to end with the sticker is on the foul pole at PNC Park, and now you crushed my dreams.
Yep. I really apologize. I really should have done it a little bit more discreetly, but I let you down, Dave.
Hey,
won't happen again.
There's a moral of this story. If you want to help coaches and help players get better, hit us up on Instagram. We have brand ambassadors, a brand ambassador program we do on Instagram to get more involved, to get swag, get Coach Crate's gear, and get the word out there. We want to grow and get as many coaches involved and grow this community and help as many coaches and players as we can. So if you want to get more involved, go to our Contact Us page at www.coachcrates.com or message us on Instagram, and we'll be happy to provide some more info on how to get involved. But thanks, guys.
We'll send you a sleeve of stickers, and then you can start being a guerrilla marketing expert like myself.
Yeah, just try to put them on places where they stay up.
Well, yeah, that didn't work out for me. But here's our interview with Chris Suseck. Really great interview once again, and we were really lucky to have him. So here he is.
Chris, me and Quinn really appreciate you coming on today. Super excited to talk with you about, your playing days in college, your playing days in high school, and now the other side of the coin, coaching. So me and Quinn have been brainstorming some cool questions for you and looking forward to getting underway here.
Yeah,
Perfect.
really excited.
Yeah, no, Dave, Quinn, appreciate you guys having me on. Let's get this thing rolling.
So I guess the easiest place to start is kind of give our listeners a little background on you and your baseball story, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. Yeah, again, so Chris Suseck. So I was born and raised here in Flemington, New Jersey, so in the tri-state area my whole life. I grew up playing ball here in Flemington with a lot of buddies of mine. Went on to play at Hunter Central High School, which is a pretty big public school here in New Jersey. And then after Hunter Central, I went on to play at Coastal Carolina for 2 years. And then I transferred back home, so back to Jersey, and finished up my baseball career here at Rutgers. So I played a lot of sports throughout my life, but baseball was definitely my favorite sport. I love the banter of the game. I love the challenge of it. It's always been a grueling sport, of course, for anybody who have played it. But again, It's just something you love playing, especially all summer and whatnot. And I'm lucky enough to stay around the game, so I'm still really involved. I coach a youth team here at a baseball academy called Diamond Nation. So the New Jersey Diamond Jacks is something I'm still around. So coaching a 14U team here in the fall, and then this past summer I coached 11Us. So that's a quick tidbit intro of baseball and how it's been part of my life, ever since I can remember.
So before we get into your college career, you obviously mentioned Hunter Central. That's a very notorious, historically great baseball high school. You were a 2-time state champion in your underclassmen years.
Yep. So my freshman and sophomore year, at Central.
What was that like, being at such a young age, being on a team that had so much success? Did that kind of get you too high, get you a little messed up mentally?
No, you don't really think about it when you're young. Central's really competitive, not just across baseballs, but a lot of sports. So again, it's a really big public school. We were just really obsessed with baseball. We loved representing what high school we were at. Again, you hear about a lot of the private schools around the state, and you kind of put an edge to you put a chip on your shoulder. I'm sorry. We just loved the game, and at Central, we were really obsessed with it. We had some good coaches. So in terms of affecting you, no, I think it was just maybe before you go into it, you're a little nervous because, again, it is a pretty competitive environment. But no, we just loved it, and we were lucky enough to win those 2 years. And we had some really good upperclassmen on the team that kind of carried us, and we were just kind of along for the ride as some of those younger guys.
That's awesome. And I think that's great. Even you just saying, I came in a little nervous, like for you guys to have that culture, going to Phillipsburg, like I go into baseball for my freshman year and it's a complete opposite. No one cared about anything. We're on the downturn and I'm like looking for guys to care. And I'm like, so I spent all 4 of my years at Peabody trying to build that culture.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that you say that. I remember a story my freshman year. So it was me and a few buddies. We were trying our best to make the varsity team, and I remember it was probably like the 3rd tryout. I remember the head coach, again, really successful. You go in nervous as a freshman, and he pulls me aside and he goes, "Listen, you're not going to make the team this year." And I was like, I was probably in my 3rd tryout or 2nd tryout. And I was like, this can't be right. I was actually playing pretty well. I remember I was hitting the ball all right, and it turns out that I'm walking out of because we were in the gym. We were just hitting indoors. And then the assistant coach comes up to me, like, as I'm about to walk out the door, he goes, "Oh, no, Coach Raymond was just kidding." I was like, woo. So my heart dropped, and I guess it was just a good freshman prank that they played on me.
Bringing you along there.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. And I guess that really did loosen up the tone a little bit, just let out the nerves. And, it's just the same game you always play. It's just with the kids that are a few years older. But no, that was just a one-off. But I'll remember that forever.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like that outlook too. Even through college, if you can just think about it like a kid's game, sometimes that will take a lot of pressure off your shoulders.
100%.
So you obviously graduated from Central. You were scouted to play at Coastal Carolina. Can you talk a little bit about playing for such a legend of a coach like Gary Gilmore, who's won 1,000 wins in D1 baseball? He's pretty legendary.
Yeah. I guess that is the best and probably easiest way to put it. He certainly is a legendary college coach. I had gone down to Coastal, not the most highly recruited dude. I had a couple kids on my high school that went south, and those kids motivated me, and I kind of want to see what I could do with the best college players. So again, I went down there to play for Coach Gilmore. It was probably the best 2 years of baseball in terms of just learning the game that I've ever been around. To describe him, he's incredibly demanding. He's the most relentless competitor I've ever been around, and you can tell by a lot of the way his guys play down there. And then he has a really good coaching staff, and they just know how to build a really good culture. And again, they set the highest standard, and they expect you to hit it. And when you don't hit it, they expect you to work as hard as you can. To hit it. Again, unbelievable competitor. He's demanding. I learned so much. I can't thank him enough. And to bring a school like Coastal, my first day there, the facilities, you just can't stack up to like an SEC, a Pac-12, a Big 12 school. And he was good enough to bring a national championship to that school. So if you think about it, it's kind of absurd what he's done. And he's one of the best to do it, certainly.
Yeah, and you touched upon it. I think the culture of a program that is able to do that. You want to touch upon maybe a little bit there and some things that stood out to you culture-wise that he instilled to help to lead to that success?
Yeah, so I guess in the simplest of terms, the best players for him, at least when I was there, they wanted to run through a wall for him. Now, we wouldn't always agree, everything that he did. I didn't play every day there. I was starting some games my freshman and sophomore years, so obviously, you're frustrated. You maybe disagree with the coach, even though he's right and you're wrong, but I always respected him. And I always knew what he was doing was probably going to lead to wins. You guys alluded to it. He's won a bajillion games down there. So what he's doing probably has worked. And, he just got his guys to buy in. He didn't go after always the biggest and best recruits because you can't do that at a school like Coastal Carolina. But if you recruit guys who buy in, you can certainly get success. And that's what he did. He just had a lot of guys who wanted to play for him. He was such a player's coach. He always had your back. And that was
That's great.
yeah, that was a culture he basically – yeah, I mean, it's still the case down there. Again, his assistant coaches down there are just as good, and they bought in too. They can go coach probably wherever they want, and they stay there because they believe in Gilly's process and what he's done. So that the coaches and the players, everybody's all in.
That's gold. That's gold. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges for freshmen going into a college program, because you're thinking, what can I expect? What's the coach going to be like? And there's going to be things, you're going to disagree and agree upon with that coach. But if you respect them enough to buy in and everybody buys in, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong or what's going on. You're all working towards one goal, and that can really play to some success there.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, when you're at those big schools, I mean, as I wouldn't say cruel, but as soon as you get there, you're a freshman, the head coach, and their job is to find a replacement for you, right? They don't know how long you're going to be there. They're going to bring in a ton of good players. Everybody's going to be there for a reason, but they're going to be able to keep it in an environment where it really is team first, which is really hard to do in college, especially at the college level. You got a lot of kids who are either on scholarship, not on scholarship. Some kids can get drafted. Other kids may never have the chance to. So it's, managing expectations, but always, looking ahead and making sure everybody's priorities are about the team and not necessarily the individual. And that's something he did so well. And so do a lot of other guys in the college game that have success.
Love that. Yeah.
So you go from Conway, South Carolina to New Brunswick, New Jersey. I'm a fellow Scarlet Knight as well.
Yes. Yes.
Was that a tough transition as just a student athlete transfer, or was it more of a homecoming for you?
That's a good question. I left Coastal. One, I knew I wasn't going to go to the big leagues, and I knew I probably wanted to either start a professional career, obviously outside of baseball, up back home. So that was big for me. And at Coastal, it was a really demanding schedule, right? You spend a lot of your time on the baseball field, and when you're not actually at team practice, you're in the cage or you're lifting and you're trying to get better. And I had come to the decision that I was spending way too much time with baseball, and I wasn't an everyday player at Coastal. Again, I was only starting probably 15, maybe 20 games a year my freshman and sophomore year, and then getting a lot of at-bats throughout games and whatnot. So I was getting playing time, but not enough for the commitment that I was giving it. So I wanted to go back home to Rutgers. Rutgers had recruited me in high school. Coach Laterio, who was at Rutgers, was nice enough to welcome me back home. And yeah, to your point, it kind of was a homecoming. I love playing at home. My dad played at Rutgers. I have a lot of people, a lot of family that have gone to Rutgers and supported. So it was an awesome experience for me. The only thing I absolutely hated was that I had to sit out a year, but
yeah,
that's just the rules of the NCAA. So it was, that was the rule, and obviously you got to go by it. But no, everything was great, and I loved being at Rutgers. So it was probably the greatest decision I ever made.
So the culture changed from going to Coastal. It sounded like Gilmore had a fine-tuned machine down there. It was almost like an organization, almost like a brotherhood. Going to Rutgers, where it is Big Ten ball. I don't know if it was Big Ten when you were there, but
yes.
Was there less focus on baseball 24/7?
That's a good question. I don't know if it would be less focus. I just think there are different expectations at both schools. So Gilly was there for years, right? He built a reputation. He's been to regionals. He's been to super regionals. That next step for him was getting to Omaha and winning a national championship. When I got to Rutgers, so my transfer year, so the year I set out, it was the last year in I think it was the American. But before that, they were historically in the Big East, so they had some good years. And obviously, you got guys like Todd Frazier, David DeJesus, so they did have a few big leaguers. But my first year playing at Rutgers, we had just joined the Big Ten, right? And Rutgers didn't have the facilities at the time to really compete. So it was just a different expectation of the program, right? We wanted to compete in the Big Ten. We wanted to win games, but it would have been a damn miracle if we had won the Big Ten, just given where we were at. And Laterio was new, so he wasn't able to have all of his recruits, in the locker room quite yet. So it was certainly a transition period, and we were just as much in love with the game of baseball. So that was the same. But again, the expectations of both programs were pretty different. So I would say that was the biggest difference. And then the facilities and the weather, right? I mean, at Coastal, you play all the time. It's beautiful. So you don't have to fight Mother Nature. And I remember at Rutgers, I mean, sometimes we played inter squads and literally inter squads on in the parking lot of the football stadium. So it's like a complete, it's just different. And again, we had some really, really good players at Rutgers and some guys now, getting their way up to the big leagues. But I would say, out of the 40 guys, each and every one are competitive at Coastal, right? Rutgers has some really good ones, just probably not as many.
Yeah.
On the roster.
I definitely have played a few games in the snow up here, which is definitely a
P-Bird,
yeah,
exactly.
At Moravian, we would be shoveling the field sometimes early spring. Like we had two maintenance workers, I think there. D3.
When did you guys open up every year? March.
April? It was March. We'd start too early. It'd always end up getting pushed back 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's just like the high school season. Yeah, no, I know. That's the biggest limitation of baseball in the Northeast. But there's still some good players up here. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I can kind of relate as well to what you're talking about on the Rutgers side. So at Moravian, I came in and we were coming off the best season they had in school history. My freshman year, we tanked, had a bad year. Then it was like, all right, let's know who we are, what we have. A lot of guys graduated after that year. And we're like, we got to build some stepping stones here for the teams that come after us and get everybody back on track. So the expectations were just different. It wasn't, we're not trying to win regionals this year anymore. We're trying to win our conference. We're trying to get back to playoffs and build the program back up.
Yeah. And I think it's really a testament to the good coaches, and whether it's D1, D2, D3, high school, or whatever, right? They find ways to win regardless of their team or their roster, right? If they're rebuilding, they're doing it quickly, and they know how to evaluate talent and get new guys in. And if they're going in with expectations, right, with really high expectations, those really good coaches understand how to control their players, make sure they're controlling everything that they can control, and really not succumbing to all the hype. I think that's really important. I think that's really, really important for high school, because I think once expectations, get a little high for high school kids and high school coaches, I think, that's where you see a ton of, I don't really know what the word is, but, maybe some inconsistency or whatnot. But I can
understand
coaching.
Like almost, the disappointment can kind of pull back and affect the team in terms of consistency. We face that a lot of people.
Very good.
So like you aforementioned, you are still around baseball. You're coaching at Diamond Nation. You're helping out at Central still. Are there any things that you learned from your time being a collegiate athlete, from other coaches that you've that influenced you to coach a certain style, or even the opposite, where you had a dispute with a coach, you argued with him, and you think that coach went about it the wrong way?
Yeah, I would say I don't necessarily, have a specific method that I do coach with. I think it's so important for coaches to be able to relate to different type of players, um, you know, even just personalities. I think that's really important to learn how to, relate to a player who's really introverted, who's really quiet, right? And then
Yeah.
if you're that hoorah coach, maybe you think he's not as passionate, but no, that's really not the case. That's just their makeup, right? And that's how they go about the game. So I think that's something that you try and relate to because you realize the good coaches were able to do that. I think being coachable is so important as well, right? You're not taking it as criticism. The coach is always coaching and instructing you with the intentions of making you a good player, and the quicker that you can realize that, the better player, honestly, you'll be. And I think, simply put, or at least something that I learned, right? You look back on whatever game or whatever play and whatnot, and it's even something I carry today, whether it's professionally or with the guys I coach, is that you can play bad. Playing bad is fine. You're going to make errors, but something that can't be tolerated and that you can't teach, and that is that you can't be playing scared. You can't be afraid to make a mistake. And there are plays where I think every player goes through it, but some people, don't like to admit it, right? There are plays that I went through in college, where you're hesitant or you're scared to make a play. So obviously if I can go back, I would never do that again. And that's something that I live with now, even with my professional life. I can be nervous. That's fine. I can have a bad day. That's fine. But what you can't do is you can't be scared of either the next opportunity that you get or the next chance you get to at least make a play in whatever you do. So I would say that's what I try and relate to a lot of these kids that I'm coaching, even, whether they're 17 years old or 10 years old. The quicker they can learn how to play the game like that, the better off they'll be, because you see how these big leaguers play. That's exactly what they're doing. They're just going out looking to make a play, and if they don't, they're going to try it again.
Right.
Yeah, I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
I think that is enormous, for all the listeners out there. If there's one takeaway thus far, that's no matter what level you play at, no matter if you're coaching or playing, if you can help players get there mentally, that's huge.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think back about, earlier in my career, and I was like, wow, I didn't think I was scared in certain situations. Hell yeah, I was. I could have played so much better if I loosened up, and it was something I focused on in college, I think, a lot, and helped me so much. Just you control the controllables. Go out there, play as hard as you can.
Cliche, but it's so true.
Yeah, and do your best,
So
and
true.
that's how you play like you're a kid, and that's when you play your best. So
yeah, no, I can play again. You can play bad, you can strike out, you can make an error, you can walk a guy on the mound, but you can't play scared. Once you play scared, I think that's really contagious.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's where a lot of probably younger teams go wrong. When I see, right, all these kids are afraid to make a mistake, people are yelling at them, God knows what, and it just kind of snowballs into this kind of almost like this pit of misery, and that you just can't get out of it. So I would say that's something I try, and like you just said, you can relate to it, and everybody knows games or at bats where they felt scared. The quicker we can rid all of those demons, baseball is going to be a much easier game to play.
oh yeah.
I really liked how you touched on not really having a central focused philosophy on dealing with players. We had Kevin Wilson on of KW Baseball, who was talking about he has to get to know the player first before he can give him any advice or persuade him to try anything new. And I think that's really important because you're kind of saying you need to know what type of person he is. You need to get to know him before you influence him in any way. And I think that's really important when you're coaching young guys.
I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, obviously he's a very recognized, highly renowned hitting consultant and hitting coach, and that's just the simplest and probably the best way to put it. Before a coach could really understand how to critique and improve a player, he's got to understand exactly what he's dealing with. And I think that's something I see all the time too, whether it's a hitter has a bad day or a pitcher has a bad, outing or bad inning. It's almost like it's something immediate, like mechanically. Like they just saw 2 or 3 at-bats from this guy, and now all of a sudden they're going to fix his swing, right? It's like I think you really got to see a lot of somebody to really be receptive as a coach. And just because somebody has a bad game, somebody has a bad at-bat, that doesn't immediately mean you just drop everything that you're doing and change the mechanics. I think he probably knows it better than anybody. Hitting is a grind, right? It's all muscle memory. It's all repetition. And there's no easy fix. And I think that's a big problem that kids are dealing with today. It's always like, if I'm struggling, what's wrong with my swing, right? Or
Maybe nothing.
they go ask the coach, exactly. Maybe you're just swinging at bad pitches.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just not on time, right? Hitting is primarily all timing. Let's just make sure we're swinging at good pitches, we're on time. And if we're doing both of those things and we're still struggling, then yeah, let's maybe dive into the mechanics. And I'm sure Kevin Wilson knows this. He knows all the hitters that he works with. He knows their mechanics. He's just talking about what's in between the years, probably with most of them.
Oh, yeah.
And how they're going to have, the best approach at bat. I kind of went on a little tangent there, but I think that was
no, that's totally relatable.
Really good. Really good point by Kevin.
Yeah, and I think that's good stuff right there. So often, whether it's in the field, at the plate, if something's going wrong, and this is a whole nother topic, don't let the lows get too low, but if you let it affect you and how you prepared for that game, that series, whatever, and totally derail your preparation and plan, and you start doing something completely different, that's when you can get in a real big slump or things start going really downhill. Everything is a process. If you put in the work prior, believe in your process, then you shouldn't be making big mechanical adjustments. When things start going a little bad, this is a game of failure. You gotta deal with it, and don't let the lows get too low. So I love that.
Yeah, certainly. And to kind of echo off that point, I think when you look at players at like the college level and even in high school, like the really good ones, everybody's got a skill set that they're good at. Everybody's there for a reason. I think the really, really good players are just the best ones who know how to make adjustments themselves, right? And they don't have to rely on, a few different coaches telling them a few different things and, almost kind of playing with roulette, like trying to figure out what exactly is going on. They understand what kind of makes them tick and either why they're hitting the ball this way or why they keep, missing fastballs that are in a really good zone to hit. That they're just very good at doing it themselves. And it's so cliche, but in baseball, the best players make the adjustments and the not so good players just let those mistakes compound and have the same mistake over and over again. I think like when you watch big leaguers, that's what makes them so good. They have such a good feel of their approach and their preparation, and they believe in it, that as long as, they're swinging at good pitches and they are on time, they're going to have success. When you start to deviate from that approach and that process, to your point, that's where you can really go into a downward spiral, regardless of the level that you're at.
Right. And that goes back to not playing scared, knowing yourself, knowing that you have it in you to make those adjustments and work on the fly like that. Let's go into this past season. It's the dog days of summer now, but I believe you were coaching at Diamond Nation this past summer.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your experience doing that? Disciplining your players, if you ever had an instance where a player made a bad play and it bled into a few innings, how you remedy that? Yeah.
So again, I think it depends on who you're dealing with and what exactly the circumstance is. But, you try and instill into the kids that you'll never get on them for making an error. That is part of the game. When you do make an error, though, and I see that either the next play that comes at you or the next ground ball that you're fielding in practice, and I see that hesitation and I kind of see that fear of making a mistake, that's when, you really start to get on them and you start to be demanding and you start to challenge them and try and get them to, I don't really know how best to describe it, but you just want to challenge your guys and you want to be demanding of your guys and you want them to be demanding of you too. I always tell, ask me questions if you have a problem with either me getting on you or me yelling at you or why am I saying this, why am I saying that. If a player, boots a ball, I'll never be mad at the outcome. I want to know what the process was of how they were about to make the play, and then, if we do boot it, what's the adjustment that we're going to make so we don't make the same mistake again. Again, there's no cookie cutter way. I I coach a player in that regard, but I think that's it. Just it's never personal. I'm here to get you better, and we need to do everything in our power to make sure that we right our mistakes and we just improve day by day.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question, but I'm just
You nailed it.
The best way I
I'm
can
going right along that train of thought there. And I can agree with you 100% on how I kind of did this year. It's really, you can't really get angry at the mental mistakes, or the physical mistakes. You can get angry at the mental mistakes. So they made an error. Okay,
Agreed.
It's over with. What are you going to do on the next play to get this next play? Are you going to, if you're scared, you're already beat. If you're going at it 100% and aggressive, then I know you're not making a mental mistake because you're still engaged. You want to do well. You want to get back out there, help your team. So those are the mental opportunities that I'm always looking for. How do they bounce back in situations like that? Because those are those coachable moments. It's if they are scared in that moment, that's when you have to get on them, because if they give up there, they're going to give up 5 years from now when they have a tough day at work, and that's our job. I'm not gonna make them think it's okay to fail ever, especially with the mental stuff where they have the option to fight back.
Yeah, no, and baseball is a failing game statistically, unless you're a really good pitcher. But if you're a hitter, the odds are stacked against you, and you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed, especially as you get older. So it's those players that go 0 for 3. That fourth at bat is just as solid as their first at bat. It's those players that are in an 0 for 10 skid, but that those 10 at bats, they're still finding 5 to 6 barrels. That's what coaches look for. Coaches want to see, at least at the college level, if you boot a ball, let me go see what that next at bat is in the bottom frame of the inning or whatnot. Right? Are you going to let it compound and take 3 pitches, right, and let things kind of get out of control, or are you just going to flush it, realize that's in the past, and then you're going to have a really good competitive at bat? I've had a lot of guys actually say that literally to me. I'd rather watch a kid and scout a kid on a day that he's 0 for 3 with 3 Ks than he is rather than he's 3 for 3 with 3 doubles. And I thought that was so true. And in the college game, especially, right, you deal with tough guys, even at good high school, right? At a good high school program, they want to see you on your worst days and see how you're battling the beast of the game that baseball is.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
So you're at Diamond Nation. Could you get Jack Cust on this podcast?
Junior? I don't know. That's a good question. I used to hit with him when I was really young. He's a great guy. Obviously had a ton of success. But yeah, I can certainly try. But no promises.
We'll send him a crate.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, no. Again, really good guy. Glad he had success. It's good for Jersey baseball. We have a few guys there. I know buddy that I played with at Rutgers is up there with the Reds. Obviously, Todd Frazier is our golden child of Rutgers baseball. He's had a good career. I'll try my best, but again, no promises.
I went to a Reds game this weekend. Who's your buddy?
So Brian O'Grady,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was
I've
actually
heard the name.
yeah, he was just called up like probably a month ago. He's been sprinkling in some at bats. But then the other kid, one kid's up with the Yankees, so Mike Ford. So he's a Princeton, New Jersey kid. So I played with him over at Diamond Nation growing up, and like he is like the classic. Like doesn't matter who he's facing, doesn't matter what's going on in the game. He's always going to have a ridiculously good approach at the plate, and he just puts the barrel on everything. Like not that fast of a dude, not that athletic. And when you're in the big leagues and you're not that athletic, you got to have an unbelievable sense of the batter's box and being a professional hitter. And that's exactly what
And
what
I've watched him a little bit, and he does always look kind of in control up there, very relaxed and just poised. Yeah.
Yeah, for a young kid in pinstripes, with how cool, calm, and collective he is, it's pretty crazy. But no, really good for him. Yeah, he's playing for the Yankees, and I'm here, coaching. So we're still involved in the game, just at much different magnitudes.
Cool. All right, I think we're gonna hop into our little quick pitch questions to finish up here. But it's been fun thus far.
Sounds good.
We got 3 for you. First one being, what's your favorite baseball book?
Baseball book?
And if not baseball, motivational, business, whatever.
I think Principles is a really good book. I mean, that more so relates to my professional career, but it does talk. Principles is basically 2 chapters. One's work principles and one's life principles. So life principles is really about dealing with adversity and to what you had said earlier, controlling what you control. And then the work principles is how do you set yourself up to have a successful career and work with people that you like working with, and whatever that work that you're doing is having a meaningful impact on either your clients or whoever you're serving. So I would say Principles is a really
Ray Dalio.
Ray Dalio, yes.
I'll have to read that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, no, it's good, very good. Sorry, it's not a baseball.
Hey,
No,
it'll
it's all
apply.
right. I'm not a big reader myself. On the last podcast, I said my favorite baseball book was actually a documentary. So it was close enough.
We just love baseball, right? Life is easier when it's just about baseball.
Cool. Second one would be, what is the biggest challenge baseball has given you or you've been faced with in baseball?
Another bomb.
Bombs in quick pitch.
Fingers.
God. Yeah, baseball's a game. I mean, it's so crazy. It's when you're in the batter's box, you feel like you have so much control in the result. And you can dictate so much of what happens, but you really can't. You can't control what the umpire's calling. You can't control what the pitcher's throwing. You can't control how good the shortstop and the outfielders are, right? So I think that part of the game is the most frustrating. But at the same time, that's part of the grind, and that's what you sign up for. But I would say that is the most frustrating. There's so much that goes on with the game that you can't control, and it's just accepting that. And I wish I accepted that earlier rather than later, but that's just how it goes.
It's almost always too late when you realize things like that. But that was
I know, but that's why we got to tell our players,
I agree. All right, third one. What is the one tip you would give a high school player trying to play at the next level?
Honestly, probably repeat what we were just talking about. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, and don't get so caught up in the future or where you're going or who's looking at you and so forth. I think that's probably like the biggest epidemic with high school kids, is that they get so caught up in either the recruitment process or they're getting caught up in being afraid to make a mistake, for their high school team or so forth. I think that would be the biggest thing I would tell all these kids. Don't be afraid. Just play the game. It's the same game you've always played. And the quicker that you can start playing like that and playing, we call it like playing like a dog out there, rather than somebody who's just hesitant, I swear to God, you'll be successful. You play multiple years of high school baseball. And when that happens, you'll typically play in college. So that's what
Focus on your next at bat, listeners,
That's it.
not max preps.
At Coastal, it was so what next pitch. So that would certainly relate to that
Yeah, I
mantra
love
as
that.
well.
Awesome. Well, there's been a lot of good information in here, Chris. I think coaches will have some good takeaways. Players will have some good takeaways. And I really appreciate you hopping on with us here and chatting a little bit about ball.
No problem. No, always a pleasure. Look forward to staying in touch with you guys and awesome what you guys are doing. It's an awesome way for coaches, obviously to get familiar with the game and most importantly, relating to their players and how do we, spread the message of whatever we're trying to coach to the player. I think Coach Crates is a really good way to do that and hope to, again, keep in touch with you guys and best wishes.
Definitely. Thank you. Where can people find out more about you? Do you
What's your at, man?
I tweet, not a ton. I tweet about baseball here and there. So it's actually Suser_Ensalada. It's a Twitter handle from way long ago, but no, I do tweet a lot about baseball. So would love to stay connected with obviously anybody from Coach Crates, but really more importantly, anybody who loves the game as much as us.
Awesome.
It'll be part of my life forever. So yeah, would love to connect with anybody.
Real quick, what did you think of the Players Weekend uniforms? Trash?
Trash? No, I think it's awesome for the game. Again, the baseball purists probably hate it, but let's call it what it is. Baseball is trying to appeal to the younger than millennial. I don't even know what generation's below us. And I think it's a good way to do it. Add some flair. It puts some faces to names on these guys. And yeah, my favorite's El Mago. So Javi Baez. I can watch him play baseball all day, every day. No, I like it. I am bullish on Players Weekend. What about
I'll tell you what. Players Weekend, love it. The uniforms were so neutral for me that I was kind of like, I just felt neutral about it. But I mean, cool. You got to experiment every year with some new cool stuff, and that's what they're doing. So I can't hate on that.
I don't think they went far enough. Like the black and white was too bland for me. I liked all of the gear. They got to have cool bats,
That's
cool
fair.
cleats.
I agree with that too. The whites were kind of tough. I didn't love those. I did like the all black though. My favorite part of the weekend was the bats.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought the bats were sick. With the country flags and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was awesome. But yeah, go Yanks. Go Yanks.
There are too many cool colorways in the MLB to just have all black and all white.
I know.
And just call it a day.
I wonder why they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody smart in their marketing department came up with it, so we'll just have to trust it.
It's above our pay grade.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Chris Suseck, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us about baseball. Obviously, you got a great story, and we wish you the best of luck outside of baseball and in the coaching realm.
Awesome. Dave, Quinn, appreciate it. Thanks again.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. That was episode 3 of Dugout Therapy, from college ball to coaching with Chris Suseck, former Coastal Carolina player and Rutgers player, now coach. A lot of great stuff. It was a blast. We thank him so much for being on. Now we just ask you guys, if you enjoyed this and want to learn more and want to help other coaches and players, please leave us a review and leave us some feedback on iTunes at Dugout Therapy. We really appreciate it. All feedback is good feedback. We're trying to get 1% better every day, so appreciate you guys leaving feedback on there. And connect with us. Go on our website, check us out at www.coachcrates.com. or at any of our social medias at Coach Crates at Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
Engage.
And we want to talk to you. Leave us a message, shoot us a tweet, shoot us a message, whatever it is, and we'll talk baseball. Thanks, guys, for listening. Have a good one.